I'm 73 years old, and I live in the dark now. Look, I didn't have to. That's the part that keeps me up at night. I sit in my chair all day, listening to the TV, and that's the thought that just loops in my head. I didn't lose my sight because of some freak accident. I didn't lose it because of bad genetics or because it was just my time. I went blind because a white doctor in a clean white office looked at me, looked at my chart, and decided I wasn't worth the cost of a test. It started about 3 years ago. I was 70. I started getting these headaches, heavy pressure right behind my eyes, like someone was pressing their thumbs into my sockets. And my vision started getting a little blurry around the edges, not the middle, but the sides, like looking through a tunnel that was slowly getting narrower. I'm not a complainer. I worked construction for 20 years. Then I drove a delivery truck for another 20. I know what an ache and a pain is. But this was different. I knew something was wrong. So I made an appointment with an ophthalmologist, a specialist. I waited 2 months to get in. I remember sitting in that waiting room. You know that feeling when you walk into a place and you just know you're not the demographic they care about? The waiting room was full of older white folks. The receptionists were chatting with them, laughing, asking about their grandkids. I walked up to the desk and the lady didn't even look up, just held her hand out for my ID and insurance card. Didn't say hello. Just told me to sit down and fill out the clipboard. I sat there for an hour past my appointment time. Finally, they call me back. The doctor comes in, older white guy. He doesn't shake my hand. He barely looks at me. He looks at his computer screen. He asks what the problem is. I tell him about the headaches. I tell him about the tunnel vision. I tell him it's getting hard for me to drive at night because I can't see cars coming up on my sides. He does the basic check, shines the bright light in my eyes, tells me to read the letters on the wall. He does that little machine that puffs air into your eye to check the pressure. He leans back and says, "Well, your pressure is slightly elevated, but nothing crazy. You're 70 years old. Your eyes are getting old. You just need a stronger prescription for your glasses." I told him it didn't feel like I just needed glasses. I told him about the pressure. I brought up glaucoma. My aunt had glaucoma. I knew it ran in families. I knew black folks are way more likely to get it. I read up on it before I came in. I asked him if we should do one of those specialized scans, the OCT scan, the one that actually looks at the optic nerve. He actually sighed, a real heavy sigh, like I was wasting his time. He said those tests are very expensive. Medicare is strict about what they cover. We don't need to run up a massive bill for an expensive diagnostic test just because you have some routine age-related changes. It's not medically necessary. Not medically necessary. I was sitting in that chair and my chest got tight. I knew exactly what was happening. But here is the reality of being a black man in a doctor's office. You have to calculate every single word that comes out of your mouth. If I push too hard, I'm aggressive. If I raise my voice even a little bit to advocate for myself, I'm combative. They write non-compliant or hostile in your chart, and suddenly every nurse and doctor treats you like a threat. You get blacklisted in your own medical records. I knew if I got mad, security would be in that room in 2 minutes. So I didn't yell. I kept my voice low and calm. I said, "Doc, my aunt lost her sight to this. I'm telling you the sides of my vision are fading. Can we just do the scan to be sure?" He typed something on his keyboard. He didn't even turn his head. He just said, "I'm the doctor. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm telling you your optic nerve looks fine from my exam. Let's try the new glasses. If it gets worse in 6 months, we'll revisit it." 6 months. I took the prescription. I left. What else was I supposed to do? You're supposed to trust them. You're supposed to believe they know better. I got the new glasses. They didn't do a damn thing. The headaches got worse. The tunnel kept shrinking. I started bumping into doorways in my own house. I'd reach for a glass on the counter and knock it over because I couldn't see it in my peripheral vision. I went back to the same clinic 4 months later. I couldn't even wait the 6 months. This time I saw a different doctor, a younger guy in the same practice. I thought maybe he'd listen. I told him everything. I told him the glasses didn't work. I told him I was hitting my shoulders on door frames. He looked at the notes from the first doctor. I could see his eyes moving across the screen. You know what he said? He said, "Your blood pressure is probably high. You have a history of hypertension." I told him my blood pressure was managed. I take my pills every morning. He looked at me with this doubt, that specific look they give you, the look that says, "I bet you don't actually take your meds. You probably eat terrible food, and this is your own fault." He actually asked me, "Are you sure you're taking your medication every single day? Diet plays a big part in these things." I was talking about my eyes, and he was blaming my diet. He was stereotyping me right to my face. I asked for the glaucoma test again, the visual field test, the OCT scan. I practically begged him. I said, "Please, just order the test. I'll figure out the copay. Just do the test." He gave me the exact same runaround. "Your eye pressure is borderline. It doesn't justify the cost of the advanced imaging right now. Let's adjust your blood pressure meds and see me in another few months." He sent me away again. I started getting scared. Real, deep fear. I stopped driving completely. I couldn't risk it. I had to ask my daughter to start taking me to the grocery store. I'm a man who worked his whole life, provided for his family, never asked for a handout. And suddenly I'm sitting in the passenger seat of my daughter's car because my doctors won't run a damn test. A year goes by, a whole year of this. I tried to get a referral to a different practice entirely, but my insurance required my primary care or this specific eye clinic to approve the out-of-network transfer. They wouldn't do it. They said I was receiving adequate care. Adequate care. I was going blind and they called it adequate. The breaking point happened on a Tuesday. I woke up and the vision in my right eye was just gone. Not blurry. Gone. Like someone threw a heavy black blanket over the right side of my face. I panicked. I yelled for my wife. She rushed me straight to the emergency room at the main hospital in the city, an hour away. We sat in the ER for 6 hours. When they finally got me back to a room, they called down an ophthalmologist on call. He was a young Asian guy. He came in, listened to me for about 2 minutes, and immediately wheeled in this massive machine. The exact machine I had been asking about for over a year. He sat me down, put my chin on the rest, and did the scan. It took maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes. He looked at the results on his screen. The room got real quiet. I couldn't see his face on my right side, but I could hear his breathing change. He pulled his stool up next to me. He asked, "Who is managing your eye care?" I gave him the name of the clinic. I gave him the names of the 2 doctors. He was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, "When was your last OCT scan?" I said, "Never." They refused to do it. They said it wasn't medically necessary. They said it was too expensive. I will never forget the sound of his voice. He sounded sick. He said, "Your intraocular pressure in your right eye is off the charts. The optic nerve is completely destroyed. It's dead. You have advanced, severe open-angle glaucoma. The left eye is severely damaged too." I just sat there. My wife started crying. I asked him, "Can you fix the right eye?" He said, "No. Nerve damage is permanent. You will never see out of that eye again. And we have to do emergency surgery on the left eye right now, today, or you're going to lose that one completely by the end of the month." I asked him the question I already knew the answer to. I asked, if they had done this test a year ago, would I still have my sight? Doctors always protect other doctors. They never want to throw each other under the bus because of liability. But this young doctor, he just looked at his shoes. He couldn't even look me in my one good eye. He just nodded, very slowly. He said, "If we caught this a year ago, we could have managed it with eye drops, simple eye drops. It wouldn't have cost almost anything. Simple eye drops." They rushed me into surgery that afternoon. They put shunts in my left eye to drain the fluid and relieve the pressure. The surgery saved a tiny little sliver of vision in my left eye, just enough so I can see shapes. I can tell if the lights are on or off. If someone stands right in front of me, I can see a blurry outline of their body. But I can't read. I can't watch TV. I can't see the faces of my grandkids. I'm blind. Because 2 doctors looked at an old black man and decided my vision wasn't worth a 5-minute scan. They saw my age, they saw my skin color, and they made an economic decision about my life. They assumed I wouldn't have the money. They assumed I wouldn't be compliant with treatment anyway. They assumed my pain and my symptoms were exaggerated. We tried to get a lawyer. We talked to 3 different medical malpractice firms. You know what they all told us? They said it's almost impossible to win a case on a failure to diagnose for glaucoma unless you can prove malicious intent. They said the doctors would just argue it was a difference of clinical judgment. And since I was already 70, the lawyers said the payout wouldn't be worth the cost of the trial. Even the legal system calculates your worth. And an old, blind black man apparently isn't worth the paperwork. So I sit here, in this chair, every single day. I have to memorize how many steps it takes to get from the couch to the bathroom. If my wife moves a chair a few inches to vacuum, I trip over it and fall. I have bruises all over my shins. I worked hard my whole life to enjoy my retirement. I wanted to build wooden toys in my garage. I had the tools all set up. I wanted to take my wife on a road trip across the country. We saved for it. Now she has to cut my food for me. She has to read my mail to me. And the anger, it doesn't go away. It just sits heavy in my chest. Because I did everything right. I went to the doctor early. I knew my family history. I asked for the specific test. I advocated for myself as much as I could without getting thrown out of the clinic. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter because the system isn't built for us. It's built to process us, minimize us, and get us out the door as cheaply as possible. They don't look at us and see human beings with lives and families. They look at us and see a liability. They see someone they can dismiss. I know there are other people out there dealing with this right now. You go to the clinic, you tell them something is wrong, and they tell you it's just stress, or they tell you to lose weight, or they just print out a useless prescription and walk out of the room. Don't let them do it to you. If they refuse a test, make them document the refusal in your chart right then and there. Make them write down that you asked for it and they said no. Sometimes that's the only thing that scares them into doing their jobs. I can't get my sight back, it's gone. The darkness is all I have left, but I can speak on it. I can tell the truth about what happens in those quiet little exam rooms. I'm leaving my story here on this channel because I know I'm not the only one. I know there are thousands of us out there who have been brushed off, ignored, and permanently damaged by these people. If you felt this, if you've been through medical racism, if you've been denied care while they treated the white patient next to you like gold, drop a comment. I want to know I'm not crazy. I'll have my daughter read them all to me. And please, subscribe to the channel because there are a lot more of us with stories that need to be heard. We have to keep speaking up. God bless everyone. Goodbye.